You come from an atheistic background, and that's a little bit unconventional, a little bit not normal in terms of somebody coming into a religion or faith, such as the Baha'i faith. Just to make everybody know, we are Baha'is in our family, and a lot of my father's book is inspired heavily upon the Baha'i writings. Of course, there's other inspirations as well. But Dad, Viv, you come from an atheistic background. Don't come up from a Christian or Muslim or Hindu background. Come from an atheist background. So as an atheist, you wrote this book primarily not for religious people, but people who are searching, but also for people who come from a humanist or an atheistic background or ways of thinking. What drew you as somebody who, can I say, probably a militant atheist, somebody who's like, I don't know, a Hitchens or a Dawkins or Sam Harris or something like that. What took you from that way of thinking of being a hardcore atheist who hated religion into somebody now at the age of 76, written 3 books, been on Baha'i institutions, been serving in the Baha'i community since in your 20s? What was that gap, that bridge that brought you from being this person, an atheist, into being somebody who understood that spirituality and everything that you're talking about in your book?
Yeah, so let's go back to the death of my brother, the tragic death of my brother. One of the big questions, as I mentioned earlier, is there life after death? What's it all about? And through this search, and I tell you, this search was over several years, was extremely intense for my mother and my future wife-to-be. And they drew me into this intensity. And we were into everything. Madame Blavatsky, Uspensky, Gurdjieff. We were into Sufism, various philosophies, American native prophecies, everything.
Bob Geldof.
Bob Geldof. No, he came a bit later, actually. We might have been involved in it. Yeah.
The Beatles.
And so when we came across the Baha'i writings, it answered this question about children. Innocence dying, and if there is a loving God and a caring God, why does this go on? Why does it happen? And it says, I'm paraphrasing very badly now, it gives a wonderful analogy, and it goes something like this, again from the Baha'i text, as I say, that imagine now all people are different plants, different flowers, different herbs, and so on in this beautiful garden. And there's this gardener who's very wise, very experienced, very knowledgeable and loving, loves his plants, loves everything in his garden. And then all the plants there are growing quite nicely. And one day, the gardener comes along and takes one plant out and transfers that plant to another part of the garden. All the other plants start saying, figuratively, why has that happened? That's cruel. Where's our fellow plant gone? Where's our fellow flower or herb gone? This is not right here. There's something wrong here. And then other people say, well, this is a reason why you can't believe in God, because, look at, if there was a God, he wouldn't allow that to happen. Yet, in the Baha'i writings, it says, for a wisdom perhaps outside our purview at that time, a gardener takes a plant from one part of the garden, not to destroy it, but to plant it in another place where its growth will be absolutely so wonderful for itself in a different environment. And it's the wisdom and the love of the gardener that has transplanted that plant into a different environment where it will grow and flourish. So we've understood that my brother Peter was taken as a youngster there. He's transplanted to another garden in the spiritual worlds of God. And let's not forget, every one of us is going to die sooner or later.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you think as well that suffering is the precursor into understanding spiritual realities?
I think it would be wonderful if we could understand it without suffering. Okay? I think what tends, the teachings of all the messengers of God, all these great ones, teach us so as we can avoid as much suffering as possible. Okay, it's like a father saying to his son, Cal, don't put your hand in the fire because you'll get burnt. And then my son, Cal, doesn't listen and he goes and sticks his hand in the fire. Okay, Cal.
I got a lot of burnt hands at the
And, the wise youngster will say, I'll listen to my father and not do it because there's wisdom, he's got experience and so. So this is the same with our Creator, with our Heavenly Father. He gives us the safe approach to going through life. We're going to suffer anyhow, perforce of having a body. We suffer from when we stub our toe, or we suffer if somebody dies that we love, or we suffer if, some terrible thing happens, like our house burns down or the crops fail or whatever it is. All cause of suffering is always physical, Abdu'l-Baha says, always attachment to something physical. But what the messengers of God have always said is amplified by Baha'u'llah all the time is don't put your heart and soul into attachment to the physical things. Appreciate them. They're created by God for our benefit and a wonderful life, but don't become addicted to them. And the reality is that suffering occurs when we start becoming addicted to the material things. In the words of Muhammad was always encouraging and uplifting the people and trying to enable them to understand. He said, there is only one God, and he says, do not join partners with God. In other words, don't worship anything other than God, who is unseen, unknowable, in the sense of physically knowing him and so on. He doesn't have a physical existence. Even the word he is wrong appellation. You can't say it because that doesn't sound nice at all. But Muhammad said, don't join any partners with God. When people start turning to their own intellect and thinking that our rational faculties are the only guidance that we have in life, which doesn't employ the teachings of the messengers of God, once we've exalted our intellect to deity, to a point of worship where we say we can get all our answers from that. And when we are attached to the physical things of the world, we start worshipping the physical things of the world. You take the words of lots of pop songs, lots of them about worshipping another human being to the extent that they're falling in love with it and they don't know what to do if they don't have that relationship with that other human being. That's an example of joining partners with God.
Definitely not Bob Geldof. That's what I'm going to say. Joking. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so many questions I could be asking you right now, but I know that will open up a door into going off on a tangent, So we won't go into that today, but I want to leave it today with one more question. And the next part of this podcast will be, so today's on materialistic assumptions, talking about that, introducing that. And then the next one is going to be, so we've got materialistic assumptions. What's the next one after that?
Yeah, in a sense, the first part we've done is looking into some of these words, as you say, materialistic assumptions, lifestyles, and so on. Well, I start applying that now in the first of the 3 sections in the book. So the first section after the introduction into materialism, searching and becoming aware of the writings of Baha'u'llah to see through the lens he's given us, spiritual lens. I'm starting to apply his understandings, insights, writings to answering challenging materialistic assumptions. So, for instance, we mentioned one earlier, is that man is just, an animal, a more advanced animal, more intelligent animal. So I take 6 materialistic assumptions in the first section of the book.
We'll leave it at that today. I think we've had a really good conversation today. I just want to end as well by saying it's interesting because Abdu'l-Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah, says that human happiness is founded upon spiritual behavior. And only when man lives in the spirit, man being, of course, men and women, when man lives in the spirit, is he or she truly happy. So it's an interesting concept, that juxtaposition between understanding what true happiness is. And I think we touched upon it in terms of understanding the human spirit, the way that makes us different from animals, and what materialistic things there are in the world that we need to try and to avoid, and to find the right avenue in terms of where we want to be in terms of being truly happy, right?
Yeah.
So what's the last words from you then, Viv, on this section today? And if you guys like this as well, please don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast as well. And this is just a father-son conversation, primarily me just badgering my father on questions on his books and so on. So what do you think about that then, Dad? What do you think?
Just a few last thought is that happiness, the pursuit of happiness, I mean, it must be our inalienable right for that. However, it needs to be balanced with service and understanding of service. And in actual fact,
so interesting, service. I really want to dive into this rabbit hole, but we don't have time today. Maybe we can speak about service on the next time. But finish off what you.
Just saying that if we're chasing happiness all the time, it's the most elusive butterfly. I don't know whether you've actually tried to catch a butterfly. You go to catch it here, it's over there, and you go to catch it over there, it's somewhere else. It's very difficult. And that's what chasing happiness is in life. It's a phantom. It's a mirage. It doesn't. If we chase after it, we never really get it. We acquire happiness through enabling transformation to take place inside ourselves to be able to help other people. The general word for it is service to humanity, and a lot of it starts in service to our family. Being kind within our family, having a family where everybody can feel safe and feels an environment that they can go through life serving and getting their pleasure and their happiness for helping other people. And I think if anybody is ever down and really upset with themselves, a lot of the time, go through those horrible feelings, but then lift ourselves up with, okay, I'm going to get out of this by helping somebody else in whatever way, phoning somebody else that you know is down in the dumps, helping somebody, perhaps an old person, ask them if you can do any shopping for them or, cut their grass or something. I wish somebody else would do that for me at the moment. That would be wonderful.
I'm doing as much as I can. I'm getting my service in. Fantastic. Great stuff. And I'm sure there's so much we could talk about this in terms of young people as well and young people in service, but that's a conversation for another time. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been a conversation between Colleen Bartlett and Viv Bartlett, father and son. Chats with Viv on his book, Navigating Materialistic Minefields. Again, feel free to subscribe and to share and to comment and to like, and we will see you in the next one. So this one's Materialistic Assumptions. What's the next one called?
It's applying understandings of spiritual insights to materialistic assumptions.
That'll be our next topic. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.